So I've been listening for a while, not that long, and I think I get a fair amount of what this is and what you bring and the whole bit. And part of my unclarity would be certain times, certain things feel like they'll manifest, whether on what I consider the positive or or an experience that isn't very comfortable. And I don't have a sense of what I did or didn't do other than saying, well, I must have had resistance to call in that which really feels kind of horrible to me. And then that which I pulled in, that's like, oh my God, how did that happen?
Don't try too hard to figure that out. And here's why. So let's say that life has caused you to ask for something and you've been asking for it for a while. So you're quite clear about what it is that you're asking for. What you're asking for, the cooperative components have already been gathered. And your inner being is guiding you. And when you are in the receiving mode, you can feel the guidance. Your inner being is guiding you along your path of least resistance. So sometimes you have a path that is not resistant in nature. So you receive impulses and guidance, and you can feel that things are unfolding. But sometimes you have beliefs that you've been nurturing for quite a long time that are quite rigid and in the way. And so your path has a lot of resistance on it. Now, it doesn't really matter how much resistance your path has because your inner being knows where you are in relationship to everything that you want, and your inner being can guide you around all the resistance. But when you aren't getting it as fast as you want it, and you stop and wonder, what am I doing wrong? You just throw more resistance on the trail. You just absolutely turn your receptive mode away from your inner being who's offering it. And you just sort of spin your wheels there for a while. So if you can just say something more to yourself like, everything's on schedule, it's unfolding nicely, I'm figuring it out as I go, I know my inner being knows where I want to be, and my inner being is calling me there. We want you to envision your inner being over there where you really are and where everything that you want, everything that you're able to comprehend right now is. And we want you to hear the call. That's what the receptive mode is. It's hearing the call of the non-resistant vibration. It's hearing the certainty of what you are wanting. But if you've got an active vibration going on, so you're not hearing it, then that's when you begin to feel insecure. That fades. The more you listen for your receiving mode, the more you practice, whether you feel satisfied or not, then the more that impulse will call to you. Now, in this case, think about it. Those little birds heard a sound from their mother. A sound. But they knew what the sound meant. Bird language? No. Vibrational language. Mother bird articulating with knowing what inner bird being was talking about. And baby bird heard the message, and you will too. You don't have to hear words that say, come this way, do this thing, pick this up, go over there. It comes in the form of an impulse to you. An impulse that when the impulse occurs to you, it feels like a really good idea. When you feel like doing something and it feels like a really good idea, that's where that's coming from.
But sometimes I feel like I felt that. It's like and I'll follow that, and it's been like, well, either disastrous or maybe not as good as everything seemed to line up, but then, wow, that wasn't. So it feels like, I don't know, I get this circuitous.
Well, here's why. Because the creative process is, you've launched the rocket, your inner being has it, is sending a signal, knows the path of least resistance for you, but it's a path of least resistance. It's a path. It's not a go directly there. If you were ready, it would be go directly there, but it's a path. And so what happens is you feel an impulse, but then you stop along that impulsed trail. And because you're not all the way to where you think you want to be, you're not willing to accept the joyous journey from there to there as anything significant. Even though it was a joyful journey from there to there, it's just you wanted to go all the way to what you want. And so it's the very thing that you began with. It's the taking score and coming to the conclusion that you must be doing something wrong or you would be all the way over there. That is the flawed premise. You never intended to want it and have it. You intended to like the idea of it, to add more to the idea of it, to allow the cooperative components to gather, and then to be inspired to the savoring, delicious journey, delicious all the way along the way to the manifestation, the manifestation, the manifestation, the manifestation. When you're savoring something, it's the delicious dance that the universe guides you to, and the cooperative components that you get to play with along the way that make up the deliciousness of life experience. Humans, you keep wanting it to be a manifestation, and we want to broaden your understanding of what a manifestation is. Here's the sort of optimum unfolding. So you've decided that you're going to meditate. We'll talk more about this every day. You've decided that you're going to meditate, so you manage to quiet your mind, and you sit for 20 minutes or so with a quieted mind, which means you've quieted your mind, which means you've stopped thought, which means you've stopped resistance, or nearly. And in the absence of attention upon resistant thought, your vibration is rising and rising and rising, and you're finding vibrational harmony or mutuality with your inner being, which means you're getting closer and closer and closer to the receptive mode. And as you're sitting there in that non-thought state, and then you begin to receive some thoughts, pleasant thoughts. Those pleasant thoughts are you in on the thinking of your inner being about you. And so as that manifestation is allowed by you, because you're in a non-resistant place, you're not trying to evaluate anything, you're just in this non-resistant place, sometimes, often, once you get the hang of this, something will occur to you. It's an impulse about, I'd like to go do such and such. And if you follow that impulse and you find the satisfaction of following it, then you're on that path. Now, here's the thing that we would really like you to hear. You could get into a receptive mode where an impulse comes and then another 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 and then another. And you could go in a very short period of time pretty much directly to what you really want, having a really fun journey along the way. But what difference does it make if you just go this far and have fun? And then you meditate tomorrow and you go this far and have this much fun. In other words, what's the big rush to eat up all the data? Why not just allow yourself to receive what you're ready for? And you know why we think it's a good idea for you to say to yourself, I am willing to just allow myself to receive what I'm ready for? Because you have no other choice other than to receive what you're ready for. Because you can't receive what you're not ready for. So you might as well stop fighting the system or fighting where you are. Stop determining that you are inappropriate in some way and just revel in whatever you are ready to allow, because it's enough. And you know why it's enough? Because it's got to be enough. And you know why it's got to be enough? Because it's all that you can receive. You can't receive beyond what you're ready to receive, and that's enough. And you know why it's enough? Because for your inner being, it's enough. Your inner being is not standing in your vortex feeling like you feel outside of it. Your inner being doesn't say, well, we called him and we gave him a really good idea, but did he take it? No. He just kept on believing the bogus beliefs that he believes. Your inner being is not complaining with other inner beings. Your inner being only remains in the receptive mode and only knows what you want and only focuses upon what you want and only revels in what you want and is having a really good time anticipating you lining up with it even when you don't line up with it.
So if I'm in this state, then pretty much what I'm hearing is like, I might as well just trust and get like behind everything that shows up. I mean, all right, this is what shows up. This is what shows up. This is what shows up. This is what shows up.
Well, we understand your sentiment. I might as well because I have no other choice.
It is what it is, right? I'm right.
I have no other choice. But if I understand that I have the choice of satisfaction or not, when you stand on this fulcrum where satisfied or unsatisfied is, that's like being at the top of that hill. When it's really easy. It can go any way you decide for it to go. But you can, in the early stages of thought, you can encourage them or you can stop them. You can encourage them, or you can choose another thought. But if you let the momentum get going even a little bit, then you lose that control. And it isn't until you meditate and quiet your mind, or have a good night's sleep, or some other sort of intervention happens where your subject has really changed, that you can change the direction of your thought. Most people don't use that beneficial moment in time, satisfied or not. Satisfied or not. And that's why we encouraged Esther to begin playing the game. She's in her vehicle, she's driving. Her mind is sort of trolling around, thinking about different subjects. And she will find a subject, and then she will ask herself, satisfaction? And if it is, then she will focus on it and let it grow into more and more and more momentum, so that she has a really wonderful thought process while she drives that often even leads to some sort of interaction with some other who's on her vibrational wavelength, which makes her feel so blessed and so loved and so powerful in her deliberate creation. And if it feels not satisfying, and she's right there aware that it could go either way, she can choose something that feels more satisfying, or she can distract herself by changing the music station. In other words, sometimes even a song can take you into dissatisfaction, and Esther can feel it in the moment of the first notes that come, which way it's going to take her. And she's got 5 presets, and she just moves around till she finds one that goes that way. No point in going that way. Helpful?
Yeah.
But So did you get a sense of what we were talking about?
Yeah, no, I've heard, like, I wanted to hear, like, analogy is great, you know, and I'm actually from Northern California, so I know the hills in San Francisco, and so I get it.
Well, the thing that we really want everyone to settle in here for just a little bit is that the early stages of you beginning to offer a vibration, you have complete control over which way it goes. And here's the picture that we'd like you to have. Your inner being is here calling you, and if you allow yourself a satisfying thought, an early one, then you'll be called right into vibrational alignment. And when you allow that, then satisfaction moves into even more dramatically good feeling emotions. And the thing is, we're not asking you to just live in your mind. We know how law of attraction works. We're asking you to live in your mind enough that you can choose the direction. And then law of attraction will lead you to conversations and experiences and evidence so that you can witness the universal forces working on your behalf, all because early on you chose to go that way instead of in opposition to who you really are. And remember, satisfaction comes from only one place: having intentions, which is what your vortex is, and you moving in the direction of them. So in every single moment of negative emotion, you are not moving in the direction of who you really are. And we've written lots of books. The Ask and It Is Given book has 22 processes in it to catch you along your physical trail in various degrees of resistance. But there is nothing better than preparing your vibrational atmosphere so that you are aware of which way you're going. And even though there will be resistance, there will be points of resistance. This is not a resistant-free environment, about as close as it comes, but still not resistance-free. During this voyage, it's a wonderful time to just ask yourself, satisfying or not? Satisfying or not? And if it's satisfying, give it your undivided attention. And if it's not, change the subject, even if you have to do it in your own mind. If you're seeking vibrational alignment with who you are so that you're happy regardless of what else is going around you, if you're not looking for love in all the wrong places, if you're not needing them, whoever's with you, to be the one who's acknowledging you, if you can accept that your inner being is always aware of you, always on your team, always knowing what you want, always your true point of attraction, always offering a vibration, always calling you to your vortex nest, always aware of who you are, and always knowing what you want, and always knowing where you stand in relationship to what you want, and always knowing what your path of least resistance is, and always loving you no matter which way you go on your path of least resistance, and always calling you no matter what your response to the calling is, then you've got it.